Hello and welcome everyone. This is Anusha from Ncell. As you know, today we will be talking about what we can do for our brand to overcome these challenging times. We are thrilled to have the advertising and marketing veteran and founder of TSC Consultancy, Mr. Tarun Chauhan. He's the man behind some of the most renowned brand campaigns and has vast experience, including heading some of the biggest agencies in the region. Without any delay, let's start the session. And yes, viewers, you can type your questions and send it to us, and we will take it towards the end of the session. Over to you, Tarunji.
Good afternoon, everyone. Namaskar. It's my pleasure, honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to really having a very engaging conversation. I've got a few slides to set the context of what we are discussing, and yeah, we'll take it from there as we go along. Yeah, my slides are going to be very pictorial, so I'm going to speak about it. As we go along, you will get a hang of what I'm trying to explain. Yeah, this COVID has been a very large game changer for the marketing and the communication world. The process of building brands. Yeah, for the last 15, 20, 25 years, there has been a huge movement towards getting people to move on to the digital platform. Towards getting people to start using digital in a more effective way. But what COVID has done is that it has forced us to go on to digital. And today, frankly, none of us have an option but to be on digital in some form or the other. And this is a global thing. It's nothing to do with India or any other part of the world, or Nepal for that matter. Today, getting on to digital has become a no-brainer. I'll try and explain to you all how powerful digital is and what digital can do in your journey or in your process of building a brand. Yeah, I'm going to put up a visual first. Yeah. Why is it not moving? There's a problem. I'm waiting for my slide to shift. Yeah, I hope you can see this. This is a small village in Haryana. Okay, we have in India something called the Khap Panchayat. These guys run a little administration by themselves. It is one of the most powerful local bodies in India. But it is amazing how such a rural and such a non-urban entity has been able to communicate to pretty much the whole world on the power they have. They pass their laws, they pass their judgments, they pass their rules, and the world follows it. And this is a traditionally old system that is followed in most parts of North India. Yeah, the big point here is that if you figure out a way of communicating and if you have great content, it travels. Yeah, digital, unlike or rather in the new age marketing, unlike in the past, there is no guesswork. There is no subjectivity. There is nothing called my point of view versus your point of view. Because data is so accessible, because people know what's going on, it is very clear what your purpose is, what your objective is, and what your agenda is. There is actually very little room for guesswork. So therefore, how does it work in this new age game? The way it works is very simple. You have to build conversations around whatever you're doing. Yeah, and these conversations have to be smart. They have to be engaging, and they have to be very good looking, because in the new age marketing, because you're using tools that are so personal, that come into my personal life, it becomes extremely important that I maintain certain standards of hygiene in terms of everything, in terms of content, in terms of how I look, what I say, and how I behave. I'm going to show you a few slides as I go along, and I'm then going to try and build an argument in terms of what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm going to go a little slow on these slides because they're very critical slides. Yeah. Before I get to those 4 or 5 slides, the other important thing that has changed today is in the new age era, whether it is a brand, it is a personality, it is a nation, it is a human being. Classical process used to be that you say something and I respond. In the new age, you predict behavior, right? So if I have to have a conversation with anyone, I should be able to predict what the conversation is going to be, or I should be able to predict where do I want to be in my life, yeah, as a brand, as a human being. Now let me build on this, yeah, and this is quite simple. You will get it the moment I speak about it, yeah. And all this prediction has to land into a space that I believe is the asset that a brand creates. It's called brand equity. Now, in all my years of marketing and communication, the organization and the brand is the same. You don't join two different things as an employee. You join a brand called Ncell, or you join a brand called Coke, or you join a brand called McDonald's. You don't join two different organizations. It's all the same. Yeah. So a brand is equal to what it stands for, and therefore it's equity. Yeah. Therefore, what do I predict? What I like, what you wear, who you meet, what are you saying, what will you experience, who will you be talking to, where are you going on holiday. Technology is now a given. It pretty much predicts all these things for you. Yeah, all this lands up into what the brand stands for and how it engages with the consumer. Now let me try and illustrate all this in some interesting visuals. Yeah, and all you people today in the world are global citizens. It is amazing how the world has become a uniform playing field for pretty much everyone, and you could be in any part of the world. The imagery is still the same. Yeah. How do large brands navigate a narrative? Yeah. I'm going to show you some visuals now. Yeah. Just remember these visuals while I keep talking. They're simple visuals. They're not complicated. Just remember them when I'm talking to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All the 8 visuals have told you a story. I'll quickly take you back and bring you back again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, all the 8 visuals have told you a story, and all the stories are a very controlled narrative. These are stories built by brands that you'll consume every day. So let me try and explain to you who are these brands. Yeah, the brands are country brands. If you now go back to the visuals I showed you all, France is about exquisite, US is traditional, USA is a land of opportunities, China is manufacturing, Italy is excitement, Switzerland is secrecy, Germany is engineering, Japan is protocol and process. Now, if you look at these words associated with these countries, you will realize that over the last 25 years, each of this country has spent tons of money and energy in the digital world to ensure that these profiles are aligned to these countries. So when you think of any of these countries, you think of the following things. When you think of China, you think manufacturing, you think of Italy, you think of excitement. These are all chosen, decided platforms that these countries own. And this has all happened by the power of digital. None of these countries you will see doing advertising in this space, traditional advertising of ads and print and outdoor. No, this narrative has been built by platforms that are not conventional. They're built on unconventional platforms. Yeah. Therefore, if I now go back forward, equity is one word. There's a brand, and what does the brand stand for? Yeah. And if you take this from country to organizations, the journey is very simple. Tata is equal to trust, BMW is joy, Bajaj is excitement, Nike is determination, Lacoste is fashionable, Coke is happiness, Hero is efficiency, Honda Cement is perfection, UFO is scale, Pierce is purity, Himalaya is herbal, L'Oreal is expert. Now these are words chosen by these brands to be communicated day in and day out. They do not diffuse this word, they do not diffuse the equity. It is a very close-knit, organized process by which they promote this word. I'll give you some more examples. I want to build on the story that the new age narrative is all about having a sharp brand focus, and how do you communicate it across all touch points. Yeah. India, again, I'm giving you some Indian brands and some international brands. But broadly, if you look at the Indian brands, if you look at Apple, if you look at Pidilite, over the last 20, 25, 30 years, they've been saying the same thing. They have not moved away from what they stand for. And normally that's one thing. Hero is efficiency, Whistler is pure, MRF is strong, Jaguar is stylish. The story continues. The story continues all the time. So if you're building a brand, and if you're putting energy behind it, get back to the drawing board, figure out your word, and put energy behind it. Because that is what the consumer relates to. Starbucks, what is it? It's a coffee. If you actually buy a cup of coffee, it is 25 bucks, 15 bucks, 10 bucks. Starbucks charges you 100 bucks. Why? Because it's that equity of taste and style. There is absolutely nothing else in this apart from equity and style. Same thing in water, Bisleri. It's finally a can of water. Oil is a lubricant, is a actually commodity. But when you start putting energy behind it, when you start making it focused, and when you start giving the single point story, it goes from a commodity to a brand. And Castrol has done it worldwide, and they're doing it beautifully. And to actually take this forward, the power of a good brand is when it outlives human beings. If you look at any of the power brands world over, they're all really, really old. They have outlived the subjectivity of a human brain in their journey. They keep it very sharp, they keep it very focused, and they keep it very long term. Coke is 150 years old, McDonald's is 100 years old, KFC is 100 years old, Kellogg's is 7,500 years old. Now, the power of the brands come because the ownership of that thought is carried forward over generations. The moment you start changing that, you start becoming a diffused human being. The objective is to be sharp, focused, and outlive the human beings when it comes to the existence of the brand. Because the consumer pays you for that equity. Premium is equal to equity. Why do you pay 60 bucks more for a cup of Starbucks? It's that game you play in the mind. It is a set of expectations, memories, stories, relationships. I find it fascinating when you expect people to come and engage with you as a brand if you don't tell them stories. In the new age, the relationship with the brand and the consumer is very, very engaging. It is no more passive. It is give and take. You say something, they respond. They say something, you respond. The response can be quite generic, but the response has to be there. It can't be passive. It can't be my view versus your view, which is the old way of building brands. In the new age, it has completely changed. You have to understand. You have to listen. You have to respond to the trigger of emotions. You have to engage with them. Yeah. You have to move away from being a product to a brand. I'm aware. I'm aware who you are. I want to talk to you. And let's have a conversation. That's the new age paradigm that we're all living in. And the problem today is very simple. The consumer in our world is moving far ahead of the brands that the consumer engages with. There are very, very few brands worldwide that are today traveling with the consumer. Most brands are either behind or lagging behind the consumer behavior. The young consumer, 24, 25, he lives in a different world. He is not living in your world. He will not come to your world. You want to engage with him, you have to go to his world. So I find it very fascinating when marketing people tell me, I am not on Twitter, I am not on Facebook, I am not on Instagram. If you're not on it, how will you engage with your consumer? Because that is where they live. They don't live in your world. I cannot think of a 23-year-old sitting and reading a newspaper. It doesn't fit in my head. So they don't live in that world. And to add to all this, consistency. I think one of the biggest problems a lot of brands face is being highly inconsistent. So I want to be in all the mediums, but I don't know how to be there. If you want to be in all the mediums, you have to find a way of being You have to adapt yourself to that medium and you have to be consistent. So there is a central thought of the brand that has to be communicated across all platforms that suits that platform in its way. There is no one size that fits all. Today, when you look at television, you look at print, you look at digital, you look at social media, you look at outdoor, every medium is got its own power, its own strength, and it has its own story to tell. And if you're consistent, if you say the same thing day in and day out, there is no way you will fail. Let me put it in context. A normal consumer anywhere in the world, yeah, consumes between 80 to 100 brands in a day, and you are one of them. He doesn't have time to process your complicated communication. He has that much of time for you. In that much of time, you have to tell him something very sharp, very quickly, that he remembers you for the rest of his life. Yeah, you have to be damned. And you know what? This may sound a little bizarre to all of you all, but building a brand is a very boring process because you have to keep doing the same thing day in and day out. You cannot change it. Tomorrow morning, a brand manager Coke cannot get up and say, I want to change the color of the Coke can. It doesn't work. It is red. It will remain red. I'll give you two very good examples. They are my favorite examples. Yeah. Lego is the oldest toy brand in the world. They don't move away from certain colors and they don't move away from the core product. Lego will not do anything stupid. You will never see a Lego chessboard. It's not possible. Lego is into building blocks. They remain only there. They will tell you stories about it in those colors, and they're doing it over 100 years. And they are a huge organization across all the world. And I'm giving you two simple examples because normally we end up giving very complicated examples. I'm going to give you two very simple examples. Lego and Barbie. Another favorite example of mine. This is a brand that is over 78 years old. It is still a young brand. It is still bought by every girl child when she's small. Barbie is very fussy about everything. They are fussy about the shape of the doll. They're fussy about the toys. They're fussy about the plastic. And most importantly, they're fussy about the pink. The Barbie pink you see in Nepal is the same Barbie pink you'll see in India. It's the same Barbie pink you'll see in any other part of the world. They are very, very fussy about it. So the values of the brand, the strengths of the brand, the power of the brand, the basic hygiene of the brand, you cannot mess with. And nobody has a right to mess with it. It has to be followed to the T. It is boring, but that is the way it has to be done. Lego and Barbie are like my favorites. And the more I read about them and the more I watch about them, I learn every day. These are like institutions, these two brands. Yeah. I'll give you what's happening in the digital world in India. These are just some numbers for you all to get a sense of how COVID has impacted all over the world. I don't have numbers all over the world, but I have India numbers. I'm going to very quickly run them through you, just for you to get a hang of how things have changed so fast. And they've changed in less than 45 days. Yeah, and these are just numbers. Have a look at them as information. Yeah, the total visits to internet increased with COVID in 2019. It went up by 12%, 10% men, 18% women. Women are sitting more on social media now than anyone else. For various reasons. It could also be education for children, but they are there. They are there all the time. Yeah. Again, if you look at the numbers, total minute consumption has gone up by 28%. 28% is nearly little more than around 1/3. Social distancing has increased the total visits on social media. Look at the dichotomy. It's the opposite of what's happening in the real world. People are spending more time here. Yeah. A 19% increase in March 2020. Brands that are doing extremely well, which did not exist 3 months back, have today become power brands. Today, business community tools like Zoom, Sky. I mean, you can't imagine. 45 days back, these tools did not exist. If someone told you to come for a meeting on a webinar, you would have laughed at them. Hey, why will I go on a webinar? Or why will I go on Zoom? Today, you can't live without these tools. And going forward for the next 10, 15 years, the world is going to live on these tools. We may live a normal life, we may go back to work, but these tools are now part of your life. They're part of your system. And look at the percentage increase. It's crazy, absolutely. Zoom is 1300%. Where do the audience go on social media, on digital? They basically go for information sites. They want to know more. They want updates. They go and hang out there. Yeah, these are the kind of data that is coming in from there. Citizens have become extremely health conscious. The health game is going up tremendously. If you are in the health space, this is time to be around and tell your story. There's 50% rise in March. Entertainment, huge surge. People are getting at home, getting bored. They're finished doing their housework. What to do? They go and get entertained on the social media space in the digital world. What are the key takeaways? Social distancing has got people closer. Actually, they haven't taken people far away. You speak to your family more often now. You speak to your uncles and aunties more often now. News entertainment has become huge. The world is consuming news like no one's business. Gaming, health, investment, spirituality again flying. Since March 2020, a major impact towards the trends are primarily coming in April and May. I think the June numbers will be even more higher. So the big point I'm making here is that this space is now here to stay. If you want to communicate, advertise, create, this is a space you need to be in, and this is a space you need to play in. The other big conflict that people have, that I want to build a brand on my digital world. Digital is a very engaging space. You have to be very good, and the content has to be extremely superior. Just because you're on the medium may be cheap, but the content has to be still very, very good. You can't run cheap content on digital, correct? Now, let me try and explain to you how some brands in India have handled crisis, serious crisis in the digital space, in the social media space. Yeah? Maggie had a big problem. Maggie was stopped in 2015. They had issues with their product. They had issues with their whatever, correct? They were banned. They were banned. They were not allowed to communicate. They came back in 16. They spent serious amount of money on digital. Their primary platform was digital. They used to create content on a daily basis. They used to create a lot of content. Today they are back being an 80%, 85% market share brand. Now this is amazing because this is a brand 3 years back that got banned. 3 years later, it's a category leader. This wouldn't have happened say 15 years back. 15 years back, if you get banned, you're gone. Today, if you get banned and if you have a good story that you can come back with. So I keep hearing this very often. We have a bad past. A bad past can be easily fixed. Have a strategy, have a framework, come back and tell your story. And if your story is credible, if your story is clean, the consumer will buy it. Maggie is a great example. Asian Paints, same story. This company in the last 10 years has changed the game completely in India. They are a category leader today. They are a generic leader today. Cadbury. I don't know if how many of you have followed this, but there was a big issue with Cadbury in India around the 2014-15. Yeah. Again, Cadbury was banned. People had issues. Nobody wanted to reach it. People used to hate Cadbury because what they did. Yeah, Cadbury came back. They came back. They came back with a stronger story. They came back with Amitabh Bachchan. They came back with Kuch Meetha Ho Jaye. They came back with a lot of fabulous work. And today, Cadbury again being a brand leader. Let me tell you, Cadbury had an issue with the product. People started cursing them because they had a bad product. Something emerged out of it. I'm not getting into it, but it was wrong. They fixed it and they came back stronger. How did they come back? They came back not because of television. Television played a very small part. I am not saying no television. I am saying played a very small part. But the big part was played by digital. They created some of the best content you will ever see anywhere. They came back. They are market leaders today. And they're huge. They're generic. This is their market share. This is a brand which was written off 5 years back. In 5 years, they come back. They've got rid of all the negative story. And today they are a very powerful, large brand in the country. There are some brands, because they invest so much in their stories, they become the category generic. Now, I also keep saying this to people. Communicate in a way that you own the category. Don't get hassled. If you look at any of these brands, Dettol used to be a smaller brand in Savlon. Fevicol used to be a smaller brand in Araldite. Today, Fevicol is the largest brand in the country. Parle-G, these have become generic. So you go to a shop, and you don't say, you say, give me a Dettol. You give me a Harpic, give me a Parle-G. You don't say, give me a biscuit. Because these have become generic to the category. They own the category. So the other thing you need to focus on is how do I own the category high ground? If there's a category benefit, like for Fevicol is about sticking. Fevicol owns sticking. So when you think of sticking, you think of Fevicol. Yeah. You can also figure out a way like that and own the category high ground. So these are all good stories I told you all. But it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. In the last 15 years, how many big brands have died? So you make one mistake. In the new age, you can't make the mistake twice. You can only make it once. Normally you're gone. 10 years back, Nokia was India's largest global player in the mobile phone space. Today they're gone. They don't exist. Same story with Yahoo. These are brands used to be huge. They don't exist anymore. They're gone. They're small players. They're really small players. So if you can travel, you can either travel this journey of recovering, being a category leader, brand leader, or sit on a mistake and you disappear. And you disappear very fast. Who would have thought that Nokia will disappear? Nokia is gone today. Tell stories and build relationships. There are two big premises on which your brand needs to operate on, or your organization needs to operate on. Your organization cannot be an organization that does not tell stories. Consumers want to hear stories. Especially in Southeast Asia, we are a storytelling civilization. Tell stories every day. Find a way and tell a story. Tell a story about your product, tell a story about the company, tell a story about your consumer's life, tell a story. And once you tell a story, find a way to maintain that relationship. Every time you react to a consumer and say something sweet, they will respond positively. That is the nature of a good consumer. You will have no problem. The biggest problem is that we don't tell stories and we expect the consumer to love us. It doesn't work. You have to tell a story and the consumer will love you. And operate the three boxes very carefully. There's an influencer who influences your brand, there's a consumer who consumes it, and the employee who's your biggest brand manager is the person who will ensure that the world buys your product. Make sure the three areas are covered beautifully, and all great organizations ensure that the three boxes are ticked. Yeah, if you miss any one of the three, it's not going to work, especially in today's day and age where influencers play such an important role. So what am I saying? I'm saying figure out your adjective very quickly. Get all the stakeholders onto it, whether it is a CEO or it is the lowest sales guy in the market. Get everyone on the same page. Develop a narrative that the stakeholders own and ensure that it gets manifested. And once the stakeholders decide the imagery of the brand, hold on to it. Don't change it. Don't let anyone come and change what the brand stands for, because that is what the consumer loves. Yeah. And remember one simple thing, that today, the world over, digital is a primary medium. Good old days, digital was the fourth medium or the fifth medium. Today, you start with digital or social, and then you go to television, you go to print. There are a lot of brands today in the world that are only on digital. A brand like Nike, Coke, they spend tons of money on digital. Yeah, because they know that's where the engagement happens. Thank you. I went a little fast. I hope I was audible.
Yeah, Tarun, you were very audible, and thank you for the session. Indeed, very insightful. We can go into the question and answers right now. There's one question regarding digital. You spoke a lot about being digital. Is Nepal ready to go digital given the audience profiles in rural Nepal? This is a question we asked.
You know, Telecom has eliminated the concept of rural and urban. Anyone who has a smartphone is a digital citizen. Whether you are in Kathmandu, you are in a rural part of Nepal, it doesn't matter. Access is now important. No more geography. Geography is history.
Right. You spoke about powerful brands like Barbie and Lego. There's a question regarding powerful brands in the region. Which brand do you think is very powerful and maybe why? This is a question we have as well.
Region includes what?
Well, they've asked if it's internationally or India or in this maybe South Asian region.
So I can think of one brand out of Nepal, which is your noodle brand. I keep reading about it, which is very, very powerful. In India, anyway, we've got lots of them. We've got Tatas and
Right.
So once you decide your product, once you decide your core audience, and you stick with it, you will become a powerful brand. There's no debate on that.
Right. There's also a question about stories. Should, because we're coming out of the lockdown situation here in Nepal, should brands talk about the pandemic stories? How do they transition to the new normal?
I don't think so. Anyone wants to be reminded about the pandemic. I think they're all done with it. It has hurt a lot of us. It's put a lot of people in a lot of difficulty. You don't want to celebrate that. You celebrate positivity. You celebrate what good you're going to do. Celebrate what you can tell a new story. You can celebrate your old culture. You can celebrate your friends. There are so many good things you can celebrate. Why do you want to celebrate the pandemic?
Celebrate positivity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Vivek Agarwal is asking what would be the best business to work into, keeping the COVID situation in mind?
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I've said this in my past interactions also. I think a lot of consumer-facing categories, food, cosmetics, personal care, these are all going to fly. Construction, people are going to redo their homes. People are going to redo their everything. Yeah, I think there's going to be a problem with the premium products like travel, hotel, but a lot of other categories will fly the moment it opens up. Because I'll tell you, Anusha, good old days, when a person wanted to vent his anger, he went hunting. In today's day and age, when a person wants to vent his anger or wants to take a break, he goes shopping. Yeah. So when you go shopping, you need to be there.
Right.
You need to be there. He will pick you up because he's pissed off, he's angry, he's just tied down for 60 days.
Mm-hmm. Do you think new categories would come into play because of the lockdown? New, evolving of new categories that never existed. Could there be some innovation there?
Yeah, you will see a lot of innovation. You will see pack size innovation. And you know what? It'll be amazing. Just go and stand next to a kirana store anywhere in your colony, correct? A grocery store. Look at the way people are buying. It makes no sense. They are buying for 19 people in a household of 5 people.
Exactly.
Why are they buying? You don't know, but they're all buying.
There's this sudden urge to just buy.
Because it's a way to vent your anger. How do you vent it?
Okay. Mr. Ujay is asking, with the access to retail limited, and because of the sheer dominance of e-commerce algorithms, have brands been practically rendered dead? Is there no role of brands because choices are now made by algorithms? So
I'll give you a very good example. Okay, I don't know how many of you know this, but Nike launched a shoe 2 months back. Yeah, it was called Air Jordan, the new series. The cost of each shoe was in Nepali rupees, I think, ₹1 lakh, ₹1,20,000. Yeah, it was not available in the store. It was not available online. It's a lot of money for a shoe. Now, Nike is a traditional 100-year-old brand. It's not a new brand. It doesn't matter. Don't get caught in the means, whether it is e-commerce algorithm. These are all normal stuff. This is a way of doing business. Make sure your brand is strong. The consumer will come. He will come through any means. He can come through your store. He can come through the web. He can come from anywhere, but he'll come to you.
Exactly. Completely agree. There are a lot of boutique brands that we're seeing popping up, startups. What would be this is a question from Mr. Arun. What are the best ways to make the brand with a limited budget?
If your budget is limited, say limited stories, define a limited geography, and grow as you grow. Invest in your brand because nothing comes free in this world. Even if I love you so much, how will if I don't invest in the brand, how will the consumer know about it?
Exactly.
You can't be a well-kept secret, no?
If you define your audience as well, I think that's a start.
Yeah.
Mr. Pavitra is asking, there are some positivities of COVID too. Is it right to use it for digital marketing?
No, I think COVID has taught us a lot of good things. It has taught us how to talk to people. It has taught us how to respect people. It has done a lot of good things. But don't ever use it to create a commercial angle to it. I think it's incorrect. Because a lot of people have also suffered. They've lost jobs. People are sitting at home. It's a difficult time. In a difficult time, you may get some good stories, but don't amplify it because you want to do it for your brand interest. I think it's incorrect.
Right. There's a question regarding traditional brands. How do we educate them to go digital and tell stories when the status quo is so reluctant to change? This is something maybe we're seeing in markets like Nepal.
Actually, if you ask me, I'll tell you, Anusha, the big problem today is actually what the problem is. The big problem is that the consumer you want to talk to is between 22 and 32, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person who's running marketing in any organization is between 35 and 45.
Right.
And the person who's taking a decision is between 45 and 55. Can you imagine this has never happened in the world before? The conflict between the consumer, the creator, and the decision maker. So if brand need to succeed, the decision-making process has to be given up by the senior management. They can take care of hygiene, but it has to be downgraded to people who understand the consumer.
Exactly.
It is virtually impossible for a 60-year-old person to understand how a 20-year-old kid operates. But unfortunately, 20-year-old kid is a consumer.
Especially in the digital arena, completely agree. Another question, this time related to international tourism. How brands related to international tourism and international studies should proceed in the period of the next 3 months?
I think all the international markets will start opening up because, frankly, if you ask me, after some time, people will forget all this because they have to move on. They can't be starving. Somebody has to pay their bills. Imagine a country like Africa, which lives only on tourism. How long will they be shut? You can't shut them after a point. You have to open. It has to happen. Yeah, there will be checks and balances. There will be rules. There will be do's and don'ts. But it will happen. Just be patient.
Right.
And also last point. Don't lose good talent. Just because you are down a little bit now in the tourism space, don't lose good talent because you'll not get it back.
Nice.
Sorry.
Also regarding word of mouth, how do you make customers make a good gossip for your brand? So positive
Create
word of mouth.
Yeah. Create the gossip.
Create the gossip.
Yeah. How do you think big brand operate? And I say gossip is the wrong word actually.
Yeah.
Create content that they can share. Don't see simple filter you should use. Okay, and I keep saying this to everyone. If you get a WhatsApp in your inbox from a friend of yours, you like to share it. If it is a good one, if it is a bad one, you delete it. Correct? As a brand manager or a marketing manager, when you're creating work for your brand, keep this filter in your mind.
Yeah.
Is the content you're creating shareable or not? If it is not shareable, don't create it. If you're not going to share it, why will anyone else share it?
Okay, again, it's about digital, so there's a question that you spoke about great content generation in the space, but a lot of companies in Nepal are not in the process of digital transformation yet. So where do we start from?
It will happen naturally. You don't have to chase it, correct? Because the consumer will force you to change. You really have no option. Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember one thing. Whatever you're doing, create something so enduring and beautiful that people want to watch it, listen, and share. Use these three as a filter. If it doesn't pass this test, please don't waste money on it.
Okay. So recently, you may have heard of a lot of brands not, shying away from digital ads, like Patagonia and UNL. What are your thoughts on this?
No, frankly, these are all. It's a phase. It's like I tell you, in 80s, I know a lot of companies who said, "I don't want to be on television." Yeah, 80s and 90s when the television revolution started. But today they're all on television.
Right.
How will you communicate with the consumer? You can't sit in and hide somewhere.
Yeah. So it's a phase. There's a lot of agriculture business here as well. How can such be branded and go into the digital space?
So if you look at the agrarian world, in India also, it's a huge agrarian country like Nepal, Bangladesh. These are all agrarian countries where a lot of citizens depend on agriculture for a livelihood. And from what little I know, they are not big farmers; they're all small farmers, right? Let me tell you something. When you drive around in rural Nepal or rural India or rural Bangladesh, the farmer is more technologically savvy than any of us. And I'll give you a small point. I'll give you a small example. Correct. Today, if a farmer wants to go to a mandi is a place where they sell their goods. He will go to the place where he gets the best rate. How does he find out? On WhatsApp. In good old days, he took his produce and went to 5 different mandis. That has stopped now. He goes to one mandi because he knows in which mandi you get the best rate. Today, digital has become a means of survival for him. For you, it is a means of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It is huge what impact it is happening in rural India, rural world. You'll be surprised. I'll give you another small example, Anusha. If you actually look at a lot of international tourists come to Nepal to do mountaineering, correct? They climb the hills of Nepal. Yeah, you have a lot of people, Sherpas who take them up the mountains. Just check out how technologically savvy they are. They will know everything about what's going to happen for the next 24 hours. How does it happen? Technology.
And I think the question was also, how do they brand agriculture? How do they start that journey of branding, and storytelling around agriculture?
In fact, it is easier over there because there are so many stories to tell. Imagine rural Nepal, what stories you can have. You can have stories of a culture, you can have stories on color, you can have stories on philosophy, because each part of the country survives on folklore. They're into storytelling.
Yeah.
And you need to brand it, because you must remember one thing, simple thing, correct? In rural Nepal, the person who's buying your product trusts you. They operate on trust. And trust is equal to brand name. If you don't brand your fertilizer, if you don't brand your seed, if you don't brand any of these rural products, the guy will never buy it because he doesn't trust it.
Because the differentiator is not too strong, it's very necessary to create a brand.
And last point, Anusha, on this point, brand create a visual branding. Because of the literacy levels being low, they can't read a lot of letters. Brand give a visual branding. So, for instance, in India, there's a brand called Ghadi, which is a washing powder. Yeah. In rural India, they address it by the watch. It's called Ghadi clock. So they've used the clock as a branding device.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we are seeing a lot of e-commerce platforms popping up, during these times. Do you think customers will be interested to buy automobiles? Is a question from Mr. Sunil Chaudhary.
They will do the research on it. So as an automobile brand, your job is to do the pre-selling digitally. So the selling will happen at the store. The pre-selling can happen on digital.
What about brands like pharmaceuticals? You know, how do they go online and how is the digital market for them?
I don't think so they're allowed to communicate. I mean, if they're allowed to communicate, they should do it like any other brand. The laws are very strict.
Right.
Now, let me tell you, in India, a lot of pharmaceutical companies use digital to build relationship with doctors and the key influencers. It may not be communication, but they do a lot of other things.
Okay, back to stories, Mr. Tarun. There's a question from Ujay who is asking, what would be stories that would be relevant post-COVID? I think you've touched upon this. If there's anything you'd like to add.
Find real life success stories. You will find enough of them. And you'll find beautiful stories. Stories can't be fake. They have to be real.
Mm-hmm. We've spoken about this as well. So Mr. Rahul is asking, do you think consumer purchasing power has been affected due to the pandemic?
Actually, they haven't spent for 3 months.
Yeah.
So when they will come like a rock star. They'll be there, the stuff, and they'll buy you.
Okay, I see a question for Ncell. So Mr. Roshan is asking, is competitive brands needed to build a strong brand? Do you agree that Ncell is a strong brand without competition? I think it's competition. He's written compensation.
So you want me to respond to that, or you will respond?
No. So let's talk in general. What do you think? Do you think competition is necessary to build a strong brand?
See, you need to decide what you want to be. Okay. Competition will always be there. Competition will be there. They will do their own thing. You need to figure out what your game in life is. You may choose Apple and Samsung are two global players in the handset game, and they go after each other's throat. So that is the way it is. This is a real world. In the real world, these things happen. You can't live in isolation.
Right. So back to pharmaceuticals and the medical industry. Mr. Thapa is asking, how could it be done during COVID, where medical representatives are facing problems in doctor visits? If possible, could you share an Indian or international scenario regarding marketing pharmaceuticals or medicine?
So in India, there's a company called Glaxo, which does a relationship program with doctors. And they use digital very nicely. I think more than pharmaceutical, all categories where there's a key role of an influencer, like for instance, building material, you have architects and builders. In pharmaceutical, you have doctors and whatever. All these industries where there's a very big role of an influencer, influencer marketing becomes very important. And influencer marketing can be done on digital beautifully. You have to have databases, you have to talk to them, simple.
So I think there's a question regarding going digital. I think we would like to know more about how we can go digital when TVC, radio are going obsolete. What do you really mean by that is the question.
What do I mean by that? What I mean by that in the, I don't know who's asking that question, but in the world you live, as a person, is the same world in which the brand needs to live. It is your brand, and if you believe you are a key consumer, that brand needs to live in your world. Today, consumers don't go into the brand world. Brands come into the consumer world. So you have to start engaging with them in the language they understand. If you communicate with them in the and also just to answer that question completely, no medium will ever get obsolete. Television will be there, radio will be there. It is how you use the medium that will become very important. No, mediums don't get obsolete. Medium will be there. Television was 100 years back. It will be there. It will continue to be there. It's a very big industry. But the role of television has changed in the functioning of a brand. It's more a passive, non-reactive medium. Digital is a more reactive and interactive medium.
You find a lot of conversations and you have that ability to instantly give your feedbacks.
Yeah.
So it's another scale. So there is a question about target audiences, and at times a company focuses on one category, suppose youth as an audience, leaving other segments. How do we perfectly target all groups? Or I would ask, do we need to target all groups?
So you in the good old years, we used to target age groups. That era is over now. Now you target a mindset. Right? You don't target age anymore. Targeting age is a very obsolete way of communicating. You address a mindset. He's got a 23-year-old mindset or an 18-year-old mindset. His age could be even 40. It doesn't matter. So let me tell you, a lot of 40 and 50-year-olds are full day on gaming. They are younger than most young people. Yeah,
exactly.
So that's a mindset you buy into. Nike, for instance, talks to a 19-year-old mindset. He could be a 60-year-old man. It doesn't matter. His mindset is 19. So he's doing trekking. He's on cycle. He's a fitness freak. He eats diet food. He maintains his health. And that's a 19, 20-year-old mindset. That mindset you talk to. You don't talk to an age anymore.
But do you think that would be difficult to target because it's a lifestyle, it's the mindset? Would that make it even more complex for us to target such audiences? If
it's easier.
It's easier.
Much easier. Mindsets are very easy to communicate to. Age group is very difficult. Because the moment you put age, you go back to your conventional classical media planning. The moment you put mindset, then the whole planning changes. So look at all the big brands. Look at Coke. Coke is a 25-year-old brand. Look at Nike. Look at BMW. Look at Apple. Apple talks to the youngest mindset, 22-year-old mindset. Apple is a 70-year-old brand. Imagine a talking to a 70-year-old. They would have been dead by now.
Okay, so going to digital, what threats do you see from digital platforms? How do you set limits for digital communication?
I don't see any threats. What threats will you get on digital platform? I don't understand. What are threats?
Are there any threats?
There are no threats. As long as you control and manage your game correctly, you'll have no problem. Don't do stupid things. Keep it clean. Keep it straightforward. Tell a story. And don't take unnecessary pangas.
Right. Okay, so I think this is more in related to be handling a brand. What skills would you suggest one should have to, Mr. Vivek is asking, so I'm presuming he's asking related to a brand manager or someone who handles the digital media. What would be the skills that the person should have?
So there are 2-3 skills that you need to understand. You need to be a very good observer, be a brand manager or a marketing manager. You need to observe all the time, because marketing, unlike other jobs, is a 24/7 job. You're learning all the time. You're learning how consumers behave. You go out for dinner, you're watching people how they behave. You learn a lot. When you learn a lot, you need to figure out how do you put that into a structure to tell a story for your brand. I think critical thing is learning. Critical thing is information. And after that, once you get that right, then it's content creation. And a lot of people in today's day and age spend too much of time on classical research. I think digital gives you a chance to do online research 24/7. You need to depend a lot on that. You need to depend on a lot of listening.
Yes. A lot of observations and getting the customer insights. Yeah. So I think that's it, Tarun, for today. It's been a lovely session, and thank you for your time and reminding us that the importance of taking care of our brand and telling stories, being consistent and having engagements with our customers. Mr. Rohit has asked if we could get the video of today's webinar. Yes, it will be placed on our YouTube channel this week. So Tarun, if you have any closing statements for us, we could wrap up after that.
So my closing would be that, since a lot of questions had to do with hygiene, a lot of questions that you all have asked had to do with hygiene, I would actually say focus on basics. Don't try and do something complicated. Keep it simple. Keep it something that you enjoy creating, because if you enjoy creating the content for your brand, the consumer will enjoy consuming it. If the process of creating the work is painful, the output will be painful and the consumer will not consume it. Create work that is fun, that is exciting, that looks happy. It looks very, very happy. Because in today's day and age, with all the stress around pandemic, don't create boring, ugly looking work. Focus on good stuff, positive stuff, and there's no way you will fail.
That's beautiful, Tarun, and point noted. Thank you again for your time. Thank you everyone for joining the session.
Thank you so much.
We'll meet you in the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.